Welcome to the Dogtor Bros, where we have an honest discussion around vet life in and out of the clinic. My name is Jeff. I'm your dog of the day and your guide through this episode. I'm here with my closest friends from vet school.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm a small animal internal medicine resident at Iowa State University in Ames, Iowa.
Hey, this is Chris. I'm a GP in North Carolina.
And hey, this is Adam. I'm a relief veterinarian in Louisville, Kentucky.
And this is Jeff again, and I'm an associate veterinarian in dermatology, also in Louisville, Kentucky. So today on the Dogtor Bros, we're going to get into our game that we like to start off with. So I made up a new game for you guys. I'm calling it Pick 6. I will have 6 questions for you. Every point is equal to the number of points it is. So 6 questions. Question 6 is worth 6 points. You get the idea. Higher numbers are harder, but there's only 6 questions. I have chosen at random. You will choose.
This game's confusing.
You will choose your numbers. So all you have to do is pick numbers. And then you answer the question. And if you get it right, you get those points.
Okay, I follow.
Simple enough?
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
So the randomly chosen person to start is Brandon, then Chris and Adam. So Brandon, what would you like to start with?
The hell with it. Let's go with 6.
Okay. We'll start you off with number 6, and everybody will get 10 seconds to answer their question. There's no stealing, so either you get it right or you don't. So some questions are going to be clinical, and some are just fun trivia potpourri. All right. Brandon, number 6. What is my favorite dermatologic diagnostic test?
Ooh. I'm going to go with a skin scrape.
No, and the answer was biopsy.
Biopsy.
Gosh, I would have had
that
it.
one.
Love a biopsy.
Now I know in the future.
Who did I say was next? Chris?
I guess.
Pick your number.
5.
What autoimmune skin disorder is defined by inflammation of the sebaceous glands? You have 5 seconds.
4.
And the answer was sebaceous adenitis. It's literally
God damn it.
inflammation.
I literally knew that.
Adam, what number would you like?
Let's keep the trend alive. Let me go 4.
We've been doing so well so far. Oh my God. Okay. What is the name of Beyonce's most recent album?
Oh, shit.
I knew it. Cowboy Carter.
There's no stealing.
Cowboy Carter.
Jesus
You're welcome.
Christ.
Hey, I get that, right?
Fine. Oh my God. Fine. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Fine. Whatever.
It's
not okay.
G-Haw. Thanks, Chris.
Brandon, we
Appreciate
got
you.
3 more questions. 1, 2, or 3.
I got to go with 2. It's my only chance to actually get something, I guess.
Can an over-the-counter diet be used to diagnose cutaneous food allergies?
Ooh. I guess that depends on how you define over the counter. I'll say yes. It just depends on what specific food, I guess.
So the answer is no. So over-the-counter diets should not be used to diagnose cutaneous food
We are
allergies.
killing
You
this.
should use prescription. God, I did not think these questions would be so hard for you.
Say that too.
There's only a million
Chris-
diets out
Chris,
there.
please pick one so
Chris?
I don't get it wrong.
What's left are number 1 and number 3.
3.
What fungal disease is often described by broad-based budding?
Yeast.
That is a fungus, yes.
Jesus Christ, that's not correct.
Blasto.
What fungal disease?
What fungal disease?
What fungal disease is often described by broad-based budding? Broad-based budding.
No,
Brandon
I
is
had
just
that
sipping
wrong.
his wine.
I swear we're doctors.
I'm not so sure anymore. Okay, your 10 seconds is definitely up. The correct answer was, Brandon, you want to say it?
Blasto.
It's blastomycosis. It's BBB, man. Okay, well, Adam, last question is to you.
I've honestly never seen a case of blastos. That's probably why it's
Oh,
not in the
man.
memory bank.
Yeah.
I was hoping the alliteration would help you.
You should visit me out here. We see it all the time.
Yeah, we don't. I don't think we get it out here that much.
Adam,
Yeah.
who is the greatest musical artist in living memory?
I'm assuming that I'm going off you since you made these. So I'm going to... It doesn't matter because regardless, I'm going to go with Beyonce.
Beyonce is the correct answer.
All right. That's what I'm talking about.
Adam wins with a
got
grand
both-
total of 5 points.
Both music answers.
And the
That's right.
The only points of the game. Thank you for playing. I'm disappointed in all of you. What a lovely, hilarious train wreck. I was like, man, they're just gonna nail all. I thought like maybe a Beyonce one would be a silly curveball because you know how I do.
Overestimated our power.
Star Wars for anyone. I overestimated your power. Jesus Christ. We will get into our topic for the day. So today we thought we would take it back to vet school again, and we wanted to talk about clubs and extracurriculars. And this was honestly one of the funnest parts about vet school for me. So we'll just kind of talk about a few things. I've got some questions for the group. We'll kind of go over and dive into a couple of things in this category. So it's not exclusive to clubs. There's some student rep things we'll talk about, and feel free to even chime in if anybody did any working experience or knows about it. But first question, maybe the most obvious, is what clubs did you guys join when you were in vet school?
This is Adam. Couple that come to mind. VBMA was a big one. That's probably the club that I had the biggest participation in overall. Canine Club. I was in Canine Club. Sports and Rehabilitation Club as well. That was another one that I was in. I think those were the 3 biggest that I was a member of while in vet school.
Okay, this is Chris. I was in VBMA, Canine Club, what was the other one that was? Oh, Dental Club. I was in that one, and then Rehab as well.
And this is Brandon. Yeah, Rehab, VBMA was, I think, the biggest one for all of us.
Yeah, it was VBMA.
Canine Club and SABMA, which I think most people joined. It was still optional to join, but I feel like 95% of people joined that too.
Yeah, and this is Jeff, and I'd say the biggest clubs I were in. Obviously, all of us got ripped into VBMA, so we'll have to talk about that too. I was also in Canine Club, and then Chris and I, we did some student rep stuff, so we'll get into that as well. VBMA stands for the Veterinary Business Medical Association, for any listeners who aren't familiar with it. And then the SAVMA was our version of the Student American Veterinary Medical Association. But one follow-up question I had, because I completely forgot, y'all were all involved in sports rehab. Brandon, didn't you start that club?
Yeah, I did. I feel like I started it relatively unsuccessfully. Just because it got some traction, and we like did an event with Auburn's vet school, and then kind of after that, I feel like it kind of lost steam, and I think we were in maybe I can't remember exactly. I don't know if we were like in 3rd year going into 4th year, and then 4th year happened, and we were like, oh, so just from what I personally remember, it was actually kind of a pain to get that done because you had to like go through the university and like it would be officially designated an organization, and then we did get some traction and got to do at least one event. But after that, I feel like it kind of lost steam, unfortunately.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that experience for you. So a follow-up question to that was, what was it like starting up your own club, since most people don't do that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess for us, we just, like, I was really, for whatever reason, at that time, I was just really interested in sportsmen and rehab. I think what had happened is Colorado, like we had that SABMA symposium at Colorado, which is a big like symposium for student AVMA. And they had a big sportsmen and rehab thing there. And I got really interested. And I was like, oh, this would be really cool to bring and like focus on at school. But we didn't have like a rehab department or anything, or, and some people had interest, and all of us in like Canine Club. And like, I think at the time, a lot of like, I think like Jeff, I think you were like leading surgery at that point. So that kind of delved into that category too. And it was cool. Like there was some really interesting stuff. And I still think the field itself is cool. In hindsight, I'm like, oh, I'm in internal medicine now. I don't really do any rehab. But I think as far as the experience of getting a program started, there were some challenges, but I think it's doable. So if you really feel passionate about like a specific topic or organization in the veterinary community that's not really being represented, and you want to bring some kind of awareness to that organization, you want to try and kind of start your own organization in that, with that specific topic or organization in mind, then it's doable. You can do it. Yeah, just reach out to the right people and just get the right steps going, and you can do it.
Yeah, I think that's really, really interesting because I completely forgot about that experience. And when I think about extracurriculars and clubs kind of in general, our time in vet school is really, really limited and precious. Are there any clubs that you guys would have used or did you use to help with your career or know anybody with experiences in that? 'Cause when I think about even like sports rehab, that's something where you could network if you had interest in that and get more into after school. Any experiences like that for you guys or things that you know of?
This is Adam. Going back to VBMA, I feel like VBMA really prepared me for the business side of general practice, not even as a business owner, but just appreciating what goes on behind the scenes of running a practice and running the day-to-day of a practice. We had a lot of different speakers come into there that spoke on a variety of topics. I think that I got a lot of good experience from that club, just kind of learning a little bit about the behind the scenes of what makes a practice tick. Because you don't really get that in vet school. You don't get a lot at all really from the business side of things. So I always encourage people. I think that is a really good club to kind of help give some perspective from that side of things.
This is Brandon. I totally agree. I think VBMA had the biggest impact on me as well. Like I'm not by no means a business owner or someone that like is really involved on the business side of veterinary practice back when I was in GP as well as now obviously in academia. But it really helped me understand the ins and outs of the business aspects of practice. It really helped me kind of in the way that I think about my day-to-day, like thinking about like even some of the interactions with clients and like how I recommend things, not necessarily that everything is about money, but in a way everything is about money. Like people have to be able to afford these things. And, like I think at the end of the day, I've had a couple of experiences where, maybe I found something in my practice that I didn't have control over as far as making the initial cost. But I saw like the value in maybe decreasing the price or increasing the price and was not afraid to like speak up about that. So that's a very like specific example of how things have impacted me on the business aspect and what VBMA brought to me. But that and, I think we all had a big experience with some of the kind of personal relationships that we developed in VBMA and with the people that were in the organization.
Yeah, this is Jeff again. And I agree about the points that you're bringing up, especially when you mentioned relationships, like direct one from VBMA, like that club brought in a lot of speakers and we were all involved in it on their executive board, which was a whole thing and a huge undertaking in its own right. But I remember like specifically people like Dr. Andy Rourke and Dr. Danny McVitie who came and spoke to the club, and then we saw them at conferences, and that was like direct networking. I was like, wow, like this is something we're bringing to school, and then having this immediate connection to the real world. And one, I guess not my own experience, but I was thinking of actually Adam's wife, Dr. Mrs. Reynolds, who I don't know if she specifically made this connection from VBMA. You tell me, Adam, but I know that's when I first got exposed to Lap of Love, and I know she temporarily worked with them. Was that related at all, or tell me? I have no idea what I'm trying to ask.
So yeah, actually through VBMA we got to know Dr. McVitie pretty well. Excellent vet, excellent person, great to be around, great speaker too. I know we learned a lot from her. When we decided to move back to Louisville, Allison had kind of expressed interest in that business model. So basically what Dr. McVie runs with Dr. Mary Gardner, they founded Lap of Love, which is a in-home euthanasia. So they basically go to the pet owner's home to perform either in-home euthanasias or in-home geriatric palliative care. And Allison had expressed some interest in that. So she actually reached out to Dr. McVitie directly. They didn't have a veterinarian in Louisville. And so she reached out to her about potentially starting that up in the area. It was kind of a risky area to start it in just from a business perspective, but they took a chance on her and set that up, and she really enjoyed it. And she did that for a few years before, kind of moving on into some other things with how it all shook out. But yeah, that was really a direct consequence of our connections through VBMA that kind of led her down that path.
I think that is outstanding, and just a very, I mean, we all had a lot of positive experiences with clubs in general, but I think that's really awesome, because that is something hopefully other schools will have. I know VBMA is pretty national, but that is a really easy connection to make and an excellent networking opportunity. So check out your local VBMA. There's your ad. Sponsor us. Anyway, I wanted to shift gears a little bit. This question will be for Chris, and then I'll chime in too. But this wasn't technically a club, but what was your experience with student rep positions? And anybody can answer, but I know in particular me and Chris have a special love for this one. But would you describe for everybody, like, what is a student rep position and how that went for vet school in general?
So the student rep position, it was just, I guess it's something that you get exposed to it first year, and then you apply to it and through the middle of first year. And kind of what we ended up doing was we put on sponsored Purina events that we had at school, and we organized those with our other reps that were in the classes above us or below us after we kept kind of moved up and around. So that was kind of the cool thing. We also funded other clubs as well. We did a lot of funding with Canine Club to kind of help them out, and I think we helped out some other clubs as well, just to say, hey, like, they're looking for funding, and so we say, hey, yeah, we see if we can get funding through Purina, and then they would put their backing on it and basically had the sign saying Purina funded this, and then here was something that, like, an activity that we were able to do, and then they also threw a lot of kind of just CE for us to do with some awesome lunches to kind of learn either about different Purina products and what they were doing and things like that. It was definitely a great experience, definitely great networking, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, this is Jeff again. And I mean, I felt like we had an outstanding experience with them. If you're thinking about student rep jobs, it's definitely worth asking, especially when you're first getting to vet school, like upperclassmen who are already in those types of positions, because it does take some time. So you want to know what's the time commitment, because it's kind of like work. We did get a small stipend to help us out. It wasn't super substantial, but I think it was worth the time that we put in, maybe a few hundred or something like that.
I want to say it was $700 for like the year, maybe.
Yeah, like something in that realm.
Yeah, like it was awesome. Like, okay, cool, this paid for something for that year, but it wasn't like a full-time job. But you definitely had to do like emailing back and forth and coordinating things and a lot of planning with stuff. And
it was some event coordination. But we lucked out because I think it was the Isaac, Dr. Martinez, who is our another Tuskegee alumni, who's in the class above us. who told us like, hey, like he was a Purina student rep. He was like, hey, you should really think about applying. This is a really good thing. They're supposed to only take one student a year, and then they took both of us, which was really nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. And Chad was another rep as well.
Yes.
Yeah, we've had him on before.
Yes. But it was a really fun experience because it was one of those organizations, or I guess companies, that of course it's symbiotic. It helps them to have a voice inside the schools, like eyes on the ground, like what do students want? What are students thinking about? What do they need? But they were actually using their money for good, I guess you could say, in that they did lots of feeding programs, large discounts, some free food, kind of depending on what the situation was. When they were allowed to, the rules kind of changed, I think, when we were in school. And then
the OM challenge.
Yes.
That was pretty.
Yes.
That was awesome. That's cool. Yeah.
I'll mention that real quick. So like, I really like Purina because we had a budget for putting on events, and they didn't have to all be nutrition related, but I did make this one nutrition. So the Purina overweight management diet is an excellent prescription diet for helping pets lose weight. I put on this challenge where I was just kind of spitballing ideas, and I was like, here's something I want to do with this money that we have. What can I do to help the school and other students? And you guys helped me, Chris, and the other student reps. We had people come in once per month, weigh their dog or cat, and they got free food. They got the free overweight management. All they had to do was feed that. And every single patient lost weight and got closer to their goals. We did tell them like the goal weight, and I think we did like a talk or some sort of promotions for it. I don't even remember at this point, but it was really successful. And I was literally thinking in the shower before this podcast, I was like, I wish I had written that up as like a little pilot study, because I definitely could have. And I'm actually, that data is long gone, and I'm kind of mad now that I've published my first project. I was like, that would have made me more competitive.
We had like a good amount of people do it too. It was like, was it like 20 people around there?
Something like maybe 15 to 20, but it was enough that like that's data that you could just like publish and have out there. And it didn't even occur to me because I don't know how to do research. I do now, but like at the time that wasn't even on my radar. But I don't recall, Adam or Brandon, did y'all do any student rep stuff, or what was your impression of student rep life? Probably like they're annoying.
No, it's Brandon. I thought it was great. I applied for the Hills rep. Rachel, Dr. Wooten, she beat me out, she was great, Hills rep. But, I thought it was interesting, and I think it would have been fun. And obviously you guys had a great time and enjoyed it with Purina. And I appreciated having you guys kind of help us out here and there.
Yeah, and this is Adam. Like Brandon, I applied for the Zoetis job, and I was beat out on that. But yeah, no, I really loved the events that were held by not only you guys as Purina reps, but all the student reps. I mean, it was really fun events, but also informative events, and really helped us learn a lot.
I am so happy to hear that. Listeners, Adam and Brandon are troopers, because they've had to hear our Purina stories for years, since 2020.
Yeah, I was going to say, when did you get that job there? Yeah,
2014,
2013 or 14.
Yeah. Going on 10 years. So
yeah, it was pretty.
It was pretty good.
Pretty sweet little gig there. We also did all those like the sporting events almost weekly.
Yeah, so that was really your spearhead. Tell us about it.
So we did, and it's kind of more through Canine Club. We kind of did it through them and did a lot of student events. Basically every weekend, right, or every Friday or something like that. We did either
when the weather was good. Yeah,
ultimate frisbee. We did flag football. We did basketball. I think we did softball one time. We also sponsored a kickball team, the softball teams. So yeah, I forgot about all those. We did 2 years of softball. Definitely one season of kickball. That was a lot. I still have our T-shirt.
Mm-hmm. We got the T-shirts
that we made.
Sponsor shirts. Sponsor the podcast.
The other, yeah, those are pretty much it. Like, we had the ones that we just did. Those were like basically just like pickup games, and anyone could show up to those. And then we had the other ones that were signed up events like softball and kickball. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it was really, really cool. And to have, big companies which seem very unattainable, having some sort of connection with them was nice, because they really, not every company is like that, but they really let us be creative, and they really wanted to put money towards the school to specifically help with the events that we really liked.
They also, going back to Canine Club, we did the Doggy Olympics, which was a big thing that we put on every year that we were there.
I think so.
And then we also did,
because it started before us.
Yes, and those were fantastic. It just got better and better every year. And then we also did the Halloween, like the dog costume.
Dogoween.
That's what it was. Yeah. So those are just some pretty cool events that you could do that just kind of involve the entire student body to come out there and enjoy hanging out and doing stuff with your dogs or cats.
Yeah.
Brought them.
Probably, I don't know how many cats we got, but I remember we did like fastest dog competitions, smallest dog competitions, best dressed,
peanut butter licking,
and we got trophies for all of those events for the Olympics, and I think for Dogoween. So they're big like community events, and really, really fun, honestly.
Actually, the Doggy Olympics, the first year that we went to them, and we weren't hosting it then, but we went to it. That's where I saw Dyson.
Oh, it's when you adopted him.
Yeah, it was after that. It was adopted Dyson.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. And a couple more questions here. So let's talk a little bit about, we've talked kind of topically about clubs and different extracurriculars, but what do you guys remember for like club positions, and like if you're getting more involved in a club, is that something you would recommend to students out there who might be listening? What's your experience with like executive boards and positions of leadership within clubs?
So I'm glad you asked this, Jeff. So going back to VBMA, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the pod before or not, but I was actually the treasurer of the VBMA, and I pride myself on the fact that as my time as treasurer of the VBMA, I was actually able to increase funds by over 800%. Yes, that's 800%. So something I'm pretty proud of, if I do say so myself. But yeah, no, I had a great time being on the board with VBMA. I think I was also treasurer for the rehabilitation club, which unfortunately, as Brandon said, wasn't as successful. But yeah, no, I encourage people to do it. It is definitely a time commitment, but you really get to learn a lot, and you really get to be a very valuable member to that club. And you can make a lot of really good connections. That's where I made a lot of really good connections through VBMA and through other clubs that I was a member in. So again, it's a time commitment. I know you have a lot of classes. There's a lot of studying to do, a lot of other things to take in. But if you feel like you can manage your time wisely, I encourage people to seek that out.
This is Jeff, and yeah, I mean, I do too. Since we've opened up the can of worms again with the VBMA, my God. So listeners,
we've heard that story for almost 10 years now.
that is,
and I'll tell it again. Give it time.
That's his, what do they call it? Like your Roman Empire. Like us with student reps is Adam to talking about the genuine success as being treasurer.
Yeah, I don't know if that success has been replicated again anywhere.
Never.
I just remember the stories of Adam like looking at the finances and trying to figure out how to fix this.
It was a struggle. It was a battle, but hey, we persevered and we powered through. You know,
You and Shun.
The long story short of that, for those who are listening, is I think it was third year, Adam. You and was Shun on board on VBMA board then? Like y'all kind of got into it first, and then I'll just say there was a lot to improve. There's much room for improvement, especially with the finances. That 800% number, he's being legit about, which is why it is so funny, because we tracked the math and we were like, Jesus. And it increased because they were in the hole, I believe, from third year going into fourth. And then somehow Shun and Adam, they got Brandon and Chris first because they were open positions on the executive board. So they needed more leadership. And then I remember I got ganged up on. Because I was like adamant about not doing another position because I was just like, I'm good. Like, I'm just going to focus on NAVLE and studying. I don't want to do another thing. I got my student rep gig, was helping out Canine Club. I didn't want to add a lot to my plate going into fourth year. And y'all were so persistent.
Yeah.
Y'all and Shun, I know you're listening to this, Shun. I can hear you screaming at your phone. I really did not want to be involved because there's also fundraising chair. I think y'all made me do, and I was like, I don't want to do this. This sounds really difficult. I hate fundraising, and
You did great.
oh my god, I ended up having to do it. There was a lot of cold calling companies, and it was so much work and very soul sucking. But being in that experience was good working with y'all. How did y'all feel about executive board year? I guess to answer the question, I do recommend doing some sort of leadership position in a club if it's something you're excited about. But what was VBMA leadership like for y'all?
This is Brandon. I kind of took a funny route because I was historian, so I took a lot of photos and I was kind of like the Instagram guy and stuff like that. But I ended up doing that for a lot of other organizations as well. Like, so
career historian here.
Yeah, for like multiple clubs, which was actually fine with me. I love photography at the time. I was really into it. I'm still into it. It's just taking a back burner with residency, but yeah, it was fun. And now I really feel that, this is a personal thing, but I really feel that photos are a really important way to capture a moment that you can look back on. And we have all those pictures from back then, and we can, reminisce on those memories with them. So you don't have to be president. You don't have to be treasurer. You don't have to do all these big things. Like fundraising chair itself is a unique position. And then so is historian. So, if you're into things like photography, historian's a great option.
This is Chris. I don't remember what position I had in VBMA.
Yeah, that means you were vice president, right?
Where's the lie?
Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Actually, I do remember cold calling people and emailing people, like helping with the fundraising. And then I also remember like emailing and tracking down people to come speak at Tuskegee and kind of getting like, hey, we need another speaker, like finding someone. I remember we found one of the local vets in Auburn to come speak. And so I do remember doing all that. Again, I don't remember which position, unfortunately, which again, that shows you like the position doesn't always matter. You're just still involved in helping everybody and getting the whole process better. I didn't deal with money. That was Adam's department, but we had fun doing it. I think it was also better, and why I wanted to do it was because Adam and Shun were there, and then Brandon and I were like, "Yeah, we'll jump on and do it." And then we got JT, so it was just fun because it was just all of us doing it at the same time. So I had a blast doing that.
Yeah, and this is Jeff again, and I really loved, in hindsight, doing it with you guys. It made it bearable. It was honestly, it was a lot of fun. We were in the trenches, but there were some times, because it wasn't time consuming the whole time. Just like when we had things kind of coming up was more stressful, plus school. So balancing that did take some time management and intention.
And planning toll was a big thing for
Jesus Christ.
Like from previous episode where we mentioned like what we did first year, toll was a tiger orientation leadership
Experience.
Okay, yeah. And so that was that was probably the most time consuming part, because I remember having to get in with try to figure out the charter bus, and then going to the 4-H center, and then we all had to figure out all the different spots we were going to. So it was like running a whole function at one point. That was a lot of work, and I'm glad we had everyone on board to do that. And Shun spearheaded that for the most part. But yeah, it was, and JT.
I'm going to stop you right there. So Shun was heavily involved in Toll, but honestly, so what happened was, so somehow it kind of, a lot of the responsibility ended up falling on me because there's so much on Shun's plate. We kind of, I don't know exactly how it happened. We kind of, as a group, were like, we need someone to specifically head this. And then I became the Toll director. And I was like, okay. Literally, Shun was just, he wasn't drowning. But I think he was just keeping his head above water, because you also, again, vet school, all of the goings on of what we're doing, just trying to keep up with clinics and everything at this point. But Toll, for everybody listening, would have been the summer, right? I guess the end of the summer, right before you start the fall semester. We have that, like Chris described it, like it's basically just like a weekend of almost like a mini conference, if you think about it, because we brought in speakers, we planned lunches, we had to get funding for that. So a lot of that was my job. We had groups, and I put people into different color groups, which is something that I learned from Dance Marathon. If anybody's listening who's familiar with the children's hospitals who do different Dance Marathon type of events, where essentially you raise a lot of money for your local children's hospital and then put on a large 24-hour event. I was involved in that in college. So in Toll, I brought some of my experience from when I was on executive board over there to this. And we had I was trying to build communities with it'd be the first years were the main participants, and putting everybody into groups. We didn't do any dancing or anything, but we did do fun activities that I helped plan, and was over a lot of that organization with these guys on this podcast helping me out. So me and Shun were in constant contact with each other over the top logistics. And then I would have died without you three helping me get through just general logistics of other things, like, oh my God, we got the food scheduled. Can somebody follow up with them to make sure they're coming for lunch? Who's going to double check to make sure the reservations are good? Can somebody check to make sure the 4-H camp knows we're coming at this time? I need somebody to get a hold of the charter bus and make sure that they're on board, that reservation is good. Is the money coming in from the fundraising side? I was badgering these three and everybody in this club about making these cold calls, because I had an Excel list of at least 400 plus random numbers, people and companies. And I was just call them, and getting all the funding together. It was a lot. I was also the main MC for the event, and my partner, Cameron, shout out to Cameron, another student. She was supposed to be a co-director with me, and she did an excellent job, but she got sick. So she actually didn't get to come to the actual event. So I did a lot of the speaking for it, which I love speaking, but the combination of everything was a little bit more than I was expecting. And it's the first event in my life where I literally got stress hives after the event. Once everything kind of calmed down, I had the hives on the back of my neck. I thought I needed to go to the doctor. I think I did go to the doctor, and I was I don't know what's going on. But I survived. Shout out to Toll. It was a fun time. 10 out of 10. Would not event plan it again, but I would go speak. So for vet students who are thinking about different clubs, are there any clubs in particular or any advice that you would give as far as getting involved? Would you go for things that are only specific to your career that you're looking towards in the future? Or what would your advice be to vet students and clubs and anything at all?
This is Adam. I would say, again, time permitting, try to branch out and join as many clubs as possible, or at least anything that even pseudo draws you in as an interest. Because I know, not for all of us, but for several of us, we didn't necessarily end up where we thought we would when we were in vet school. Especially Jeff, especially, well, me too, I guess, but mainly Jeff. I know he kind of went around the whole gambit of veterinary medicine to land where he's at now. So I know you can kind of get in that mindset of when you're in that moment of, I know what I want to do, and that's what I want to focus on. But keep your options open, expand your horizon, get out there, try different things. You may like one thing you're doing, but you may love something else. You may hate something else, but you'll never know unless you try. So definitely shop around, check out different clubs, network. Can't stress that enough, because that's really how you're going to find any new open doors, and really you can get that through clubs. So yeah, I encourage people to try to join, as many different clubs as they can within reason, time permitting, and again, staying maybe with the topics that you're most interested in, or at least have some interest in, but trying to experience as many different options as possible.
This is Brandon. Yeah, I totally agree. Just one of my experiences was I didn't really get involved with the internal medicine club at all. And now here I am, an internal medicine resident. And, one thing I do kind of regret during my residency is I did have at least someone reach out to me from the Iowa State side about talking or speaking at one of their events or at one of their gatherings, and I feel bad that I never got back to them. So sorry for anyone from ISU's internal medicine club that I didn't get back to. I'm so sorry. It's third year. But yeah, don't limit yourself, even if you don't necessarily join an organization, because there are like organization fees and all this stuff, but maybe you can like go to one event and just see if you like it. Like, don't be afraid to try out different things that you don't think you would like, because you never know where you'll end up.
And this is Jeff. I would say my advice is, I agree with what you guys are saying. Don't pigeonhole yourself. I would add, I think, to Adam's thought process and say, make sure you have your time management under control. So do I know my study schedule? Do I already know, or do you have like an idea of what you want? It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you already know kind of what your schedule will be, how you like to study, your study style we've talked about in previous episodes, make sure you kind of have those on track, and make sure your time management and your flow is good. And then dip your toe into something you think you would like. Like, I did not join, I don't recall if we specifically had a surgery club, even though I was so deep into surgery. But if you have a club that's related to a specialty that you like they said, excellent opportunity to network, meet with the clinicians who may be future recommendations, and then also do something else that you would enjoy. Don't spread yourself too thin. So it's always okay to be conservative and then dip your toe into other clubs, but use your best judgment. Make sure the basics and school is under control, because that's the most important. That's what you're there for. And have fun. And think about student rep jobs. They're not all equal, but ours was a lot of fun.
Hey, this is Chris. I really don't have anything much to add on to what Adam, JT, and Brandon said, because it's pretty much what I would say is go find something that you want to try and just see if you like it. Don't knock it until you try it is kind of what I would say to do. But yeah, I had a blast going into the different clubs, kind of with just, let's see what happens. Don't have the expectations of it's just going to be awesome. Like, just go in there and learn and see what you can do. And I did dental club, which was kind of, my dad's a dentist, so I went into that club. I just kind of just did it at a whim, and then I ended up liking it a lot. And now I do a lot of dentistry type stuff, and I like it. So yeah, it's even if you don't see yourself doing it, kind of like Brandon's situation, like just try it and see if you like it. And if you don't, well, you tried.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to kind of get towards the end of things. And I'll briefly add one thought that I had when you were speaking, Chris, is don't be afraid to step back if you know that you're overexerting yourself in a club. Like if you go out there, you try other things, it is okay if you need to go, oop, I overcorrected. In vet school, I feel like everybody kind of understood, and like when your class had a test coming up, you did less extracurricular stuff and got back into the academics, and that's okay too. So the last question that I had for you guys, I feel like I'm in awe. We've had so many episodes up to this point, and we've done a lot more than I expected. I'm so excited to be doing this podcast with you guys, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback. So the question is, name one of your favorite episodes that we've had so far and why you liked it.
This is Brandon. For me, it was the one on imposter syndrome. I really like that one. Of course, we had Shun, who is just a great friend of ours. And on top of that, it's just something I still struggle with today. I'm still battling day to day. Like I don't deserve to be here, but here I am about to finish residency. Like I hope that people go back. If you haven't listened to that one and you're listening to this now, it's a good one to listen to. If you are struggling with imposter syndrome, maybe you're right out of school, you're not alone. And, you deserve to be where you're at. You've worked hard.
And this is Jeff. And number one, Brandon, you do deserve to be there. You've worked very hard for this. And he's referencing episode number 22, the one about imposter syndrome with Dr. Shun Kimura. And I think we briefly mentioned it at the end of episode number 21 as well, the one about parenting with Dr. Ashley Bourgeois. My answer was going to be, I think one of my favorites was the one about diversity with Dr. Rachel Wooten, episode 18. Go back and listen to that one. And I'll just disclaimer, there are so many guests and favorites that I have so far, but that one really stuck out to me because obviously it's close to home. I got to talk about my background and how that affects kind of life and day to day going through my career, and we don't always talk a lot about that in particular. And getting to connect with Rachel on that in a very thoughtful way and sharing that with you guys was really fun for me.
This is Chris. So it's definitely hard to choose. I think I always kind of lean more towards anything financial. I would say, the episode with Willie on student loans is really good. And then we ended up doing that one with Dr. Jones. I think those were pretty good episodes on just the finances and kind of how to navigate your own personal finances. So kind of between those two, even though I know you said pick one, they're both on student loans and veterinary finances. So I like both of them, and it's kind of fun to both work in the same podcast. So I would say those two are my two favorites because they're on the same topic.
Those are great. And those are episodes number 20 with Dr. Willie Badeau and number 31 with Dr. Meredith Jones. Go check those out. What about you, Adam?
Yeah, this is Adam. So this is a tough one because, not to toot our own horn, but we've had
I can't. The unlicensed music.
We've had a lot of good episodes. I would say if I had to pick one, I would probably go with our episode on parenting with Dr. Ashley Bourgeois. That one hit home for me, obviously being a parent of two small children. And I think we covered a lot of good topics and kind of finding a good, balance between a good work-life balance and kind of focusing on your career and kind of carving your path through veterinary medicine, but also focusing on family as well. So that one really stood out to me. And then also a close runner-up number 2 would probably be our episode on student loans with Meredith Jones. Dr. Meredith Jones covered a lot of great information in that one as well.
Here, 100% agree. Dr. Ashley Bourgeois is a great colleague of mine. Love her so much. And then Dr. Meredith Jones was a really, really excellent episode as well. So go back and listen to those, listeners. Feel free to take a peek through our Instagram. We do post every Monday, same day that we drop, and go find one you haven't listened to yet. Hopefully you listen to them all, but it's the real world. Go find one that you might really enjoy and take a peek if you haven't looked at all of them yet. So that'll end things for today. Thank you so much for listening to the Dr. Bros. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to podcasts. We will love you forever. It would also help us out if you could share this episode with others who may be interested in today's topic. You can also tell us what you want to hear. You can drop suggestions in the comments or shoot us an email at thedoctorbros@gmail.com or DM us at thedoctorbros on Instagram, and that is Dr. Bros spelled with a G. You can also reach me on Instagram or TikTok at DermDrJeff, DermDogtorJeff.
And this is Brandon. You can find me on Instagram at DogtorMasonIM.
And this is Chris. You can find me on Instagram at dr.chrishernandez.
And this is Adam. You can reach me on Instagram at DrAdamDVM. That's DrAdamDVM.